I use my slides? Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to this beautiful city, and to those of you who are lucky to live here, like me.
Control them over here.
To the right, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So, we don't have much time. Here are my slides. Looks nice, yeah? So, first thing I want to say that this time is really challenging for us because we never faced something of this scale. I mean, the last war in Europe of this scale was quite far away, quite long ago. And the first and foremost challenge is that the amount of information we have to deal with is really enormous. And for example, when the war broke up, I spent all my mobile traffic, which is not unlimited, but I have a lot, just in 2 days, just for Telegram and other stuff. So we have to, that's why the second thing we have to do, we have to sort it. We have to sort important things from not so important things. And it's really challenging, believe me. And also, and I can prove it with examples, for example, we have a lot of unverified and false claims which drop every single minute. For example, yesterday or 2 days ago, there was a claim by Ukrainian police. And I would say, short disclaimer, we speak about Ukrainian fakes, and not because we are pro-Russian or something, but because it's how it is. Of course, thank you. Of course, a lot of things are dropping which are false, just some of them for clicks, some of them for other reasons. And maybe you've seen the story about these golden teeth allegedly extracted as a torture by Russian soldiers in the city of Kharkiv region. We just looked at this box with these teeth, and we saw that some teeth are taken off with, have signs of special medical instruments of them. And also, anyone who will just see this box, which is full of teeth, can think that there should be really a lot of people, because not everybody wears these metal teeth. And yes, yesterday it was officially admitted that this box was just stolen from some local doctor. They were not. They tortured people, but they did not extract teeth. It's also very hard. Believe me, my wife is a doctor. It's also very hard to extract the teeth when you don't have enough experience. Next. This is what we faced even before, because the war started in 2014. Now we speak about full-scale war. But of course, information, every army tries to hide the information. It's natural for armies. And Russian army is not an exception here. But we have some open source tools, and this toolkit grew very much since 2014. So now we have more sophisticated tools. We have more open sources from where we can grab information. And we know Russian language. That's very important. Some of us are native Russian speakers. Some of us just know Russian. And that's how we can carefully listen for what people say on videos. We can carefully read all replies and comments, which sometimes contain really precious information. And that's very important. That's what not all Western journalists can do, because they don't know Russian that well. The next point is, unfortunately, our website was blocked in Russia. Our journalists are being claimed as foreign agents in Russia. A lot of our journalists had to flee Russia after the war broke up, after the mobilization started 2 weeks ago. And that's why our possibilities to report from the ground in Russia are very, very limited. But we see that all on-the-ground reporting is very popular among our audience, because that's what audience really need. They like open sources because they can check it, they can repeat the process themselves, but at the same time, they like on-the-ground reporting very, very much, because that's what Western journalists cannot do. They are simply not there. They just cannot doorstep someone, or they don't live in that villages from where people go to war and where the coffins return. And also, on-the-ground reporting also gives us a lot of information for open source investigations, because sometimes in Ukraine, on the ground, we find some small pieces of evidence, like, for example, recently our journalist, not our journalist, but some journalists found a piece of paper in Kharkiv region with a number of the unit. And it was just a notebook of the soldier, torn piece of paper. And we checked the number of the unit, and it appeared to be a Russian strategic forces unit. What can Russian soldier from a strategic rocket forces unit do there? That's another sign that Russia tries to fill the gaps, to fill personal losses by transferring soldiers from such an elite and very important units to just regular infantry, to tank battalions. So that's just an example. And yes, the last thing is that reporting the war, you should be quick, but at the same time, we at RFRL has to maintain our very, very strong editorial standards. And yes, that's, that's very difficult sometimes, because when you are engaged, you want to report something quickly, and sometimes you can miss some experts, and sometimes it's just good to take a minute or two and think, can I harm anyone? Or is it, can it be verified? Is it correct? Is it okay? So what we do, what toolkit do we use, and so on. So this is what I already said about. We sort the flow of information on the basis of its importance, because sometimes you see some interesting video or some post by a soldier, but when you check it, you understand that this is not the very important thing. Yes, you can investigate it, you can find out everything, but it's not very important. And some things are really important while they are not looking that from the first sight. Every day we follow social media, 24 hours a day really, to know what exactly people are interested at the moment. Sometimes, because sometimes it's clear. For example, if someone bombs a civilian convoy and a lot of people dies, of course it will be breaking news and headlines all over the world. But sometimes it's not obvious, and for that you should just live in this. You should be on this social media. You should have your circle, and you should monitor them permanently. We check the claims using additional sources, like already mentioned, social media, and geolocating. Yes, I'm not the best person in geolocating. I also would like to say that I'm just a tiny part of this OSINT community, and there are people who do this work much better than me. But geolocating is a father of things, because when something happens and you can map it and chronolocate it, it makes much easier to investigate what happens. For example, yesterday, maybe you've seen this video, it went viral with Russian mobilized who stepped off their train, and they were complaining on camera because they are in the poor conditions, they don't have any medicine, they don't have any proper equipment, and so on. And just an hour after that, Russian Ministry of Defense issued a statement where, in this statement, Russian Ministry of Defense said that this train actually headed not to the front line, but to the training base in Nizhny Novgorod region, Mulino. And we found out that the person who filmed this complaints video on his selfie camera, he already did the same video a week ago, and it was filmed, we geolocated it, it was filmed near Moscow in the premises of famous Tamanskaya division. And we understood yesterday that this Ministry of Defense claim is ridiculous, because we geolocated, not we, a lot of people geolocated this train in Belgorod region. And if Russian Ministry of Defense claim is true, it means that they traveled from Moscow to south, to Belgorod region, and then they're heading to Mulino, which is Nizhny Novgorod region. So it makes no sense. And you can clearly see that this claim is ridiculous. So quickly, next steps. We are looking for hidden gems and sources for our exclusive reporting, because there are things that everybody reports, but we are trying to find something which was not reported before. Of course, we don't hesitate to reach out to Russian soldiers, and even we of course say that we are journalists, but even in this case, a lot of people are ready to communicate and to chat with you, sometimes even to speak by phone, and sometimes some people even allow you to reveal their identity and reveal their voice, and etc. And the last thing here is bringing in credible experts, because we are journalists. Some journalists may think after a few or 3 years of such a work that he is an expert himself, but that's not true. We are not military experts, and we need ones to explain to our audience and to ourselves how things work or do not work. So how we track the war at RFRL. You may often have seen this disclaimer on websites which cover the war. So this claim can't be verified independently because it's war, it's a murky war, and so on and so on. But actually, a lot of things can be verified, and that's what we do all the day. And that's what we have to do quickly, because we don't want this disclaimer, we want to verify. So this is, I think, what I already told about. So we are following closely what our audience is interested in. Yes, this one is important. So when you see a lot of videos, photos, evidence, and so on, you can sort it in your head, and you can note some patterns. You can accumulate similar evidence to make not only to make some findings, but also to make the story more understandable to the audience. So know the systematic character of things which may look isolated, like for example flows with command and control or communications in the Russian army in March and April. It looked, from the first sight, it looked like isolated incidents, but very quickly we started to understand that this is a systematic problem of the army. And of course, do not hesitate, if you want to cover the war, do not hesitate to follow pro-Russian sources. Actually, we follow a lot of them, a lot of pro-Russian channels, a lot of channels associated with Russian mercenaries like Wagner and so on, because first of all, they are sometimes much more critical, and they produce much more truth than the Russian state media. And now you see they are very critical to Russian Ministry of Defense because the war is not going well. And you can extract a lot of information from pro-Russian sources. We have to use VPN for that sometimes because some of them are blocked here in the European Union. We have other tools. But that's a really important thing to follow. Don't think that all pro-Russian sources are useless. They're all propaganda. Sometimes, and most of the times, yes, but sometimes not. And you can find some very interesting things there too. So, do we have some time for questions? So, no, that's what I expected. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I hope it was quick but interesting. Thank you.
And now we're welcoming Pavla.
Hello. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a project that actually started right after Russia invaded another part of Ukraine and sent troops there as a special military operation. And we were just so upset that we decided that we are going to nail those guys and show how much of assets they do have, because it was not publicly known, or at least not publicly proven. So we decided that we are going to collect the claims, and we are going to verify the claims, and we are going to create not a story but a database, because it's going to be more simple what was wrong assumption. I'm going to talk about the sources of information that we used. I'm going to then later present one case study, unfortunately not about the horses, we don't have time for it, but about real estate. But sources of information, you take the list of people from sanction list, you take the list of people from Navalny, and then you just start to check what kind of assets, usually real estate assets, expensive horses, yachts, land, or companies or bank accounts that they do have. Where to search for information? First of all, of course, business registries. But you have good, transparent business registries, and you have bad, not showing anything business registries, like in Cayman Islands or British Virgin Islands. So, and you need to know them all. Because, those guys I'm talking about, like powerful Russian people, very tightly connected to Russian President Vladimir Putin, they are, of course, not hiding their assets in transparent jurisdictions. They use all financial and company chains and schemes to hide it. Anyway, you need to know it because then you can track it. You can use the court records to understand what kind of who is the ultimate beneficial owner, because if they claim somewhere that they are ultimate beneficial owner, usually it's in litigations, legal litigations that concern the companies, usually because someone wants some money from them or transfer the company to someone else and so on. Property registries, both real and real, like real estate and intellectual, where they usually claim that they are the ultimate beneficial owners because they can't actually use the proxies there. They are too scared that the proxies would just walk away with their assets. Official gazettes, like in case of Luxembourg and Liechtenstein, scrape databases. I guess all teams now in all media probably have a team who are scraping and scraping and scraping, and that's their daily job. Leaks, if you are connected to the international projects, and pay databases like Orbis, Nexus, Sayari, Factiva. If you are not sure where to look for information, please use tool we developed. It's called Aleph. We have a team of technicians who are just scraping the data and putting it there. There's a public, and if you create public part, and if you create account, you can also get to the more, let's say, gray zone, not totally transparent data that you can easily get. But what is more important is there is a list of public databases in each country you can use. So if you don't know what is the URL of Liechtenstein Gazette, you will find it there. If you don't know what is the URL of Maryland Intellectual Property Database, you can find it there. So please use it. It's full of information you might find very useful. We are going to only focus on the first case. It's a case study how we track Shuvalov's Austrian castle. You know, we received the information that he has really a nice castle in Austria, that he was claiming he's just renting, but instead he's the owner. So we needed to prove it. We saw that there's some real estate asset in Austria belonging to Shuvalov that he actually admitted for having. So we went to Austrian land registry that is not really very user-friendly, and there are not many land registries where you can actually search by name. You can search by, you know, the address, but usually not by the name. There are only a few exceptions, including Czech Republic. So we checked, you know, all kind of information, you know, who is the owner of the real estate at this address, and we found out it's this company. So we needed to go to company business records, and we found out that 99% of the company is owned by Weitriedanstalt. Correct me, any German speaker, please. And just €1 is for Griffin Trust. So that's the only thing we know. You know, there is no address, no jurisdiction of this company. So how could we find where actually this company is based? So there is a very useful tool called Open Corporates. And, you know, those are guys who are just, you know, scraping business registries and putting the information there. So you just type in the name of a company, you have no idea where it is based, and it will give you at least some hints, if not the original source of the information. So we put it there and found out it's based in Liechtenstein. What is like, oh my God, no, not again Liechtenstein. Anyway, you can find some information in Liechtenstein, even though it's not very transparent jurisdiction. So we went, there is no like nice database that you can easily search by name or name of the company. You need to read like thousands of pages before you will get to any kind of useful information. So we found it here in Liechtenstein company documents. Like, you know, it scans and you need to read it to understand board of directors, but the head paper is Marine Fortune Investment Ltd based in British Virgin Islands. So you can connect those two information to have some hint where to search next. But we also found this, and this was essential. As you can see, a registered agent, Marine Fortune Investment, registered agent, it's someone who is just like doing the legal work, not really having any rights over the company. But what was really important is here that we finally found the guy who is behind the castle in Austria. And, you know, probably he didn't have only this real estate when he created already this kind of a structure involving offshore jurisdictions and Liechtenstein. So we went to Orbis, what is paid database. It's not really cheap. It's good to share account, but it's very useful. So we found out that global ultimate owner, what usually means like the real company that's owning another companies, is owner of those other 2 Italian companies we didn't know about before. So we went to Italian land registry. That is actually pretty cool, and you can search by name. So we found, you know, those information or more real estate of Shuvalov, and that's it. We were able to prove not only the Austrian castle that he actually admitted in the public declaration of assets in Russia, but also 2 more Italian real estate records. And this is the group of people who work on it. There are much more studies. Unfortunately, we don't have a time to talk about tracking horses or tracking yachts. It was fun. I didn't know anything about expensive horses, and that there's actually a public database. And we use Instagram with Percy, what is the horse of daughter of Abramovich, and it was fun. So, any questions? Do I have like no time? Okay, no questions.